Happy Labor Day weekend, everyone. I hope you'll find some time to spend with your families and have a little time off for yourselves this long weekend. Going over your work that was submitted last week, the APA formatting is improving. Just a reminder that you do need those in-text citations and a reference line at the bottom of your discussion board entries if you are referring to a person or a work. I have graded almost all the papers. I'll finish the last few this afternoon. I don't get them all done all at once. I can do about 2 or 3 or 4 at a sitting, and then I kind of get brain dead. So bear with me. I will always have your work returned to you before the beginning of the following week. I do want to remind you, I hope you saw the announcement about the library orientation. And our library orientation will be on Monday night, September 10th from 7 to 7:45. This is a live session. I put the link under announcements last week. So you'll click on that link and log in. I will be logging in with you, so I will be able to see who has participated and who has not. If that time and date clearly will not work for you, there are usually offered some makeup sessions, but there is an assignment associated with this login orientation, so you will need to for sure do either the September 10th or one of the makeup sessions, and I'll post that information if you are not available. But I certainly hope that you'll all put that date and time on your calendar so that will get out of your way. The assignment for that one is on week 5, assignment 5, so you'll have a little bit of time to get that finished. Let's see, for this week, you are going to be reading chapter 5 in the textbook, and it's going to talk a lot about moral and character education, how the curriculum in our culture has changed, how the culture of schools have changed, and how it affects behavior. There's an interesting question on page 148 that says, what changes am I going to make to improve my instruction, and how am I going to motivate my class? So I want you to kind of tuck that question away as you work over the next few weeks, because we're going to link that idea to our Understanding by Design format, lesson format that you're going to do for your final project. This week's assignment is to do a video, a PowerPoint with your groups. And I only heard from one person about the group, so I'm going to assume that all of you have been able to access the list and know who is in your group, and that you've begun to make contact with one another. The groups got a little iffy. I posted them later than normal because we had several people that started the class and dropped. We had a couple people that came in late, and we're doing some catch up. And I still do have one student I have not yet heard from. So if you have someone in your group that you have not been able to contact, please send me that information and I'll pass it on to the university. So this project has to do with an obstacle or a challenge that students might or do face. And this could be something limited to things that happen in your classroom, or it could be a challenge or an obstacle that is a school-wide one. So the directions are in great detail on this week's Blackboard, but basically what you're going to have is a title slide, then a slide that states your challenge or your obstacle. You're going to have a minimum of 3 slides that address the character and moral education ties to this obstacle. Then minimum of 4 slides where you will provide an activity or an assignment for students in which this obstacle or challenge will be addressed. And then one slide on proactive steps for this, one slide on your anticipated outcomes or your intended goals, what you want to happen as a result of this, as a result of this lesson or this series of lessons or this assignment. And then find one quote that will tie in with your ideas. And that's one slide. And then one slide of APA reference. So that will be whatever sources you've used. You are being asked to use 4 sources for this. And I have a couple of sites I'll put up on Blackboard today that will help you find additional materials if you are having any problems with doing that. So that's a total of 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 slides minimum. So divide that up however you want amongst your group. There is no rubric for that. Basically, what I'm going to be looking for is, do you have each of those slides in your presentation, and have you addressed the topic of each of those slides? It's also kind of nice if you want to maybe color code the slides or put a little note in the bottom about who did which slides, so that I can see that this was indeed a collaborative assignment. Okay, so aside from that project, you also have one discussion board question, and what you want to do is you want to read chapter 5 in the text first, and you're going to link that to the following videos that you're going to watch. The first one is one of those animated videos like Sir Ken Robinson's was. This one is from Daniel Pink. He's the author of the book Drive. You may have heard of him. He's not necessarily an educator, but the topic this week is a lot about rewards, incentive, performance, and motivation. So you're looking at that through a business lens, but applying it into your classroom. That first video is about 10 minutes. Then there's a very short poem that is on there, talking about things that, what do we get distracted by, and what would that look like in our classroom. It's kind of an abstract poem, so I did type it out, and I'll post that poem in written form so you can have time to ponder that a little more in depth rather than having to go back and re-listen to the presentation. Then there are 2 more videos. One is an 18-minute Daniel Pink video where he talks about those rewards and incentives and the motivation, what motivates people. And then lastly, there is an 8-minute interview with Daniel Pink. So what we want you to do is to take in all of those resources, make some notes, and then discuss on discussion board how these relate to the social foundations that you are going to read about in chapter 5. Consider the following prompts. I'll give those to you in a minute, and respond to one question in depth or multiple questions in less detail. So you have a choice there. There are 3 prompts. How does the culture you create in your classroom work to motivate your students? Where do motivation factors and moral education interact? And lastly, when looking at your students' many and varied home situations, how does motivation come into play, and to what extent do you see this as a teacher's role or responsibility? So those are some pretty heavy-duty questions to think about. It's a good idea maybe to note those before you read or watch those videos, so you kind of have an idea of what you're going to be listening for. Your collaborative group presentation is going to be submitted on Blackboard as a discussion board. So that's going to show up as discussion board number 2. Only one person in the group needs to upload that, and you need to make sure when you do that when you put the link in, that you put it in as anyone with a link can view. So that is easiest done on Google Slides, and then under the share button you can select that. Anyone with the link can view. Do not click on anyone with Concordia can view. That will not allow other students to see it. And you don't have to respond this week to that, but it would be a good idea to go on and just see what your colleagues have presented. So you will be scored on that as a discussion board entry rather than an assignment entry. Okay, so we've talked about library orientation, September 10th. We've talked about finding my feedback on your papers by opening up your papers and clicking on the little blue symbol. And then the last thing that I want you to do this week is I would like you to text or email me when you have listened to this video. So that will help me get a good idea of how many of you are accessing the video and making use of the resources that I'm posting. So with all that in mind, I hope you all enjoy your day off tomorrow. Get a little rest. You're all doing fine. We're off to a great start. I'm trying to give as much feedback as I can. So I hope it's been helpful. Contact me if you have any questions or concerns.